I love you, but I don't love you as much as I love you. All right, here we go. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Hail, Holy Queen, Mother of mercy, our life, our sweetness, and our hope. To thee do we cry, poor banished children of Eve. To thee do we send up our sighs, mourning and weeping in this valley of tears. Turn then, most gracious Advocate, thine eyes of mercy toward us, and after this our exile, show unto us the blessed fruit of thy womb, Jesus. O clement, O loving, O sweet Virgin Mary, pray for us, O Holy Mother of God,
that we may be made worthy of the promises of Christ.
Amen. So my story is one of miracles. So I was very young, right, and naive, right? So I got cancer when I was 19 years old. I'm the 27th person in 14 reporting countries ever to have my type of brain cancer. So the journey to finding out what type of cancer, went through 5 different hospitals, a lot of frustration, and no shortage of miracles, right? When I was in Sioux Falls, the doctor there, who had never done this procedure before, said that he was going to split my hemispheres and go down and find out what type of cancer I had. At this point, I had been through 3 different hospitals, and I told my mom and my dad, this is what I need to do. We just need to figure it out. My mom and my dad said a rosary. They heard no. He said no. I said, what? And we went to another hospital. It turns out that if they would have done that operation, I would have been dead on a table, right? So that's my first, I don't know what you want to call a miracle. I don't know, that one's not quite as big as some of the others. And we can move on. We're going around. I finally end up at the Mayo Clinic. And there so at the Mayo Clinic, they never treat you without a firm diagnosis, right? And so they do a biopsy on my brain through my cerebellum. And your cerebellum is those 2 little purple parts in the back of your brain, right? And they run your motor muscles. Like, so the left cerebellum runs all your arm and your leg, right? And the right runs your right arm and your right leg. And they cut into the cerebellum, and they went for the cancer, and they said that there was this massive brain bleed. And like my brain went like, right? And so I lost control of my entire left side of my body. So I went from this 20-year-old who was in college, I was playing racquetball every day, I was 6'4" and weighed 185, right? I was in super good shape, to a boy, I mean at this point I'm still 20, but I'm in college, I'm still a boy, right? Who was never close to his dad because he was a farmer and we had that farmer-son relationship. I think we yelled at each other more than we ever talked to each other. So when they brought me back from the biopsy, I had to go to the bathroom. And so I tried to get out of my bed, and I couldn't tell my left side to do it. I couldn't tell my left leg to get out of the bed. So my dad had to come over and pick me up and carry me into the bathroom. He had to take my pants off. He had to take my underwear off. He had to sit me on the toilet, right? So talk about this surrender I had to have, this surrender that my dad had to have, that we had to come that close, right? So I have an amazing relationship with my dad now that I can never say I could have without brain cancer. It's that growth of love and of connection and having to be so close, right? So for the first 6 months, I was in a wheelchair and I was living at my house, and then I graduated to a walker with one of those posts and all these. And I made it through cancer. I was super blessed. Halfway through, my sister joined a religious order in France, and there's a place in France called Lourdes. Everybody know about Lourdes, right? Yes? So we go to Lourdes because my sister is joining her order, and my dad's a farmer, so he's, I don't know, a wealthy farmer, and so he flies all of us over to France, and I get to bathe in the waters at Lourdes. And if you guys know anything about Lourdes, Lourdes is a spring that just sprang when St. Bernadette dug in the ground. And it's cold, it is cold water. So when they bring you into the baths, they have you get out of all your clothes so you're naked and you're wrapped in this lovely cold wet towel, and they bring you in. And so all this time, I didn't have any faith, right? I was just going through the motions, right? Like I grew up in this Catholic bubble, right? I didn't really believe anything, but my mom always had rosaries on her. I mean, she was a convert, and she fell in love with Our Lady. Like, rosaries would be like falling off of her person, and you'd have to pick them up, right? And so she was praying this rosary right before I went in, and I was just bawling, like, I can't walk, I have to go in a wheelchair, they're gonna have to pick me up and put me in the water, and I was like, fine, dear lady, help me. And so we go in, and they dip me in the water, like up to my chest, and they're gonna like bring me out, and I'm like, and we're in France, right? So I don't think anyone speaks English. I'm like, head, cancer, head. And the guys are like, whoa, we're from England, we speak English. And so they start saying the Hail Mary and stuff because they asked what prayer I wanted. And then they take a pitcher of water, and they go and they pour it over my head. And I say this, I don't know if I had become like hypothermic or whatever, but it felt like there was this warm bath being poured over me. And my parents and Father Craig Timmerman, he's from our parish, he's actually my cousin, was there too. And I came out of the baths, and they said it was like I had the stupidest grin, or like the happiest grin I had ever had in my life, because Our Lady had just shown herself to me. And I don't know how, yeah, it was beautiful. So we go back, and so I had already beat cancer in a way. I was in remission, right? I didn't have any cancer in my body, but the Mayo Clinic didn't want me to leave with just being cancer, like in remission. They wanted me to be cancer free, right? So they do this thing called the stem cell transplant, where they harvest your stem cells and they put them in and they kill everything and whatever. We were in this little house because you go there every day, right? And my sister, who had just become a sister, was driving me back and forth. And at one point, there was a scan they were doing, and I was praying to Our Lady, like, please, Lady, help this work, help me be clean. And as I was in there, like rainbows shot across my vision, and I started to smell incense. Like, I was like, what is going on? So it was Our Lady showing me again. So, I cannot not trust her anymore, right? I ask her for everything. Like, I think I probably every day. Like, with my disability, I walk pretty far, like, prominently. I fall over a lot, or I almost fall over, and I was like, thank you, lady, whoa, you know. So, it's been pretty amazing. But the miracles that happened after my everything, so I'm wearing this hat, right? It means nothing to me before it, and it will mean everything to me after. My neuro-oncologist at the Mayo Clinic took me out to eat at the Humble Forager, maybe like 2-3 years ago now. And as we were sitting there, me and my wife, he goes, John, I don't know how to say this, but you, and he's a doctor, and he's not religious, and he can't say like you're a miracle, but he says like you're a freak, right? I work with hundreds and hundreds of patients who have received whole brain radiation like you, and none of them have made it past 3 to 5 years and not had dementia. I am on year 16 now, and I'm still here. I met my wife 6 years past when I was supposed to have dementia. I have 3 kids, and they shouldn't be here. And it's all because of prayer, guys. I don't even know how to, so during my journey, my mom set up like a prayer thing. People were praying for me every single hour of every single day. And there were people lined up. There were people from France, and I had been to Australia for like a youth program over there. There were people all over. My sisters were praying all over. Guys, I don't know if you know what it's like to pray for someone who gets better, right? It's pretty amazing, right? When you're that person and you just can't do anything but just sit there and absorb it, it's even better, right? But like you just feel so guilty, right? There was plenty of people around me who I knew who passed away, right? So I have this survivor's guilt, right? It's like, why me? Why now? And now I'm seeing why, because I have these 3 beautiful children. I come here and I get to speak to men of God, right? And I get to do these things because God allowed it, right? And it's just so silly. So I want to tell you a story about my wife. My wife was never popular, never anything, right? We actually went to K through 12 together. She lived just a ways away. I was better friends with her cousin. I mean, not with her cousin, with her brother than her. And she went off to college, but before her senior year, just randomly, she heard on her heart, marriage to John Verlin. And she was like, what? That guy? Really? Right? So she went off to college in St. Paul. And every day she would pray, like, really? And she used St. Therese, and she's like, St. Therese, if this is the guy I should marry, leave me a rose, or show me a rose on my way to work. And she would always get them, and she'd be like, dang it! So she heard that I got brain cancer, and her mom, well, actually her mom didn't, she called her, and she's like, Bobby, John had brain cancer, they don't know if he's going to make it. And she goes, don't worry, he's going to make it, I'm going to marry him. So afterwards, this happened in between my sophomore and junior year of college, and I graduated college in 2009, and we didn't get together until 2017, and she was faithful to me that whole time, guys. I wasn't faithful to her. I mean, I wasn't like womanizing it, but I had girlfriends. I never did anything inappropriate, but I had girlfriends, I did all these things. And then my dad, I don't know I think some dads have magical powers. He has lined up every one of my sisters. They're like, oh, look at that guy over there. Oh, look at that guy over there. Oh, look, there's Jesus. Go be a nun, right? We were at Mass one day, daily Mass, and he's like, oh, is that Bobby? Was she in your class? You should ask her out on a date. I'm like, I think I had just gotten off my walker, and I was walking just by myself at that point. And I walked over to her and I asked her out. And within like 6 months we were engaged, and it was just, and now we have killed, and it's just, I don't know, guys. There's so many little and huge miracles in my time. I haven't even highlighted them. I went to Kansas City, I prayed over this little girl. Her whole family was like anti-Catholic, and then they came to my sister's monastery that they have in Kansas, and she actually died. She was on a Make-A-Wish trip, but she received Christ, and she was baptized, right? And then all 6 of her siblings and her mom and her dad all joined the church. And it's just little things like that, and then, I don't know what else to say besides God does things for us that we don't understand, right? When I first got my cancer, I gave my parents this huge litany of why I didn't need Christ. Like, I was always popular. I always had friends, right? I didn't need, but whatever, all these things. My last thing I said was, I've never had like cancer or anything. I'm nothing serious. My mom and my dad say a simple prayer for faith. The day before I got my cancer, I was sleeping face first into a couch because I was working out in South Dakota, And the next morning I woke up and my eyes were squiffy, and I was really tired, and I was driving through corn and bean fields doing like pest scouting and stuff like that. I was driving over like ears of corn and stuff because I fell asleep on my four-wheeler and I couldn't see anything. It was Father's Day and I drove home, like a 2-hour drive. And mind you guys, I had just been falling asleep and not being able to see anything in the field. So I'm pretty sure it was like that, Jesus, take the wheel, take it from my hand, right? Because there's no reason I should have been able to drive home. That was a miracle that I got home. I'm sitting at the breakfast table the next day. My eyes are pointing in different directions. I didn't wake up for like 13 hours. I slept or something like that. And that's just how it all began. Just the simple prayer for faith, right? That my parents had me say. I still am a little angry that they gave me cancer. But you know, it's all that. Cancer is what got me here. Cancer is what made me in my church. I totally left the church my freshman and sophomore years of college. I was lying to my parents about going to Mass. I was lying, right? And that simple prayer, which Our Lady heard and the Lord heard, got me here. So I am so grateful to be here, guys. I'm so grateful to share tiny parts of my story. I would talk if I could do all of it, I'd be up here for like an hour and a half. But I was told by Joe that I can't do that.
You still got some time. You got 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. What do you guys want to hear? So when I was in the my doctors had always told us that the best way to cure my cancer was to do whole brain radiation, and that's what would have caused dementia, right? So I did four different types of chemo, and my cancer kept on growing through all of these chemos, right? And so we're in this little doctor's office at the Mayo, and at this point, all my sisters are there. So I have 4 older sisters. My sister, who is a sister, was there and she can't travel by herself at this point because she's a sister now. So one of her sisters, and this is just a normal-sized office, guys. We weren't like in a big area, right? And then my dad and my mom, and then 2 doctors. So there was, what do you think, like 14 of us in a tiny office. So we're all breathing the same air, right? And I'm just weeping, right? I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm a little bit of a talker, right? I do theater, I do all that stuff now still, which is pretty amazing and pretty stupid. But to think of becoming dementia-like because of radiation was something I couldn't do. Like I was so adamant, like there's got to be another way. There's got to be another way. And I'm sitting there, and my doctors were like, there's no other way. And I looked to my mom and my sisters and my dad. My mom just nodded yes, then we have to do it. And I just lost it, guys. I knew that my mother was acting as, I don't know. But, so I had this, like, when I started it off, like that cry I had in the office was like a pretty girl cry. You know, like a tear, but no snot, and you just flick it away, right? Now it turned into like this wounded moose. Like I was like snot gushing, and I'm like, oh God, no, you're gonna save me, right? So I head into the radiation booth, and the radiation isn't a real long process, but they're radiating my brain, right? So they strap you, and they don't want to like radiate the wrong part of your brain, right? Sort of site specific. So they strap you to the table with like a mesh mask with a nose hole cut out. So I'm strapped to this table, and thank goodness that it's only like I don't know, what did they say, like a minute and a half, the whole radiation process. And I'm sitting there, and they turn off all the lights in the booth, and then they start the process. And when all the lights came off, halfway through, all the lights came back on for some reason. And they would like just shut back off. But for me, it was a little Our Lady or something. I didn't know what it was. I took it as a sign. So I started having this wounded moose cry again. But now I'm strapped to a table. I only have one nose hole to breathe out, and then there's snot gushing out of it, so I can't breathe. Luckily, it's a short process. Like the nurse came in and I'm smacking the table, like I can't breathe. She pulls off my mask. You know, says, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Our Lady said she's good." I didn't actually say that. I gave her this big hug, right? And she's like, I run out, and I have this like big stupid grin on my face. I never told my parents about that, like that Our Lady, and that the light came back on. And actually, I had this lady, the same nurse who did all my radiations. She came back later and said, "That person, I'm so sorry. I accidentally bumped into the light switches." I'm like, "Our Lady shoved your butt." Right? So, I don't even. Just things like that were just everywhere through my cancer. Just huge and small things. I don't know if I can quantify it. I know, and the biggest thing was prayer, right? So many people were praying for me. I mean, Joe, you were probably praying for me. You never really. I mean, so I have a friend in Marshall. His name is, well, you don't need to know, but his name is Matt. And he said it was the first time he ever prayed, like prayed. And I came up to him after, like, I had beat cancer, and I told him, like, Matt, your prayer worked. And he just looked at me, and he didn't know what to say, right? Because he's not, like, spiritual or anything, and he just goes, "That's amazing." I don't know. All of his kids go to Holy Redeemer with my kids, and it's beautiful. I mean, just the miracles that I don't know about that happened because of my cancer, right? And just all that stuff. It's so beautiful. So, or so 4 minutes, dang. What's another one I can talk about?
So John, can I ask a question?
Yes, let's do that. Questions.
So, was there a moment when you were healed, or was this over a process of years?
So, really the time in the hospital, and like, okay, so from diagnosis, well, not from diagnosis, from coming home and going to the first hospital, that was Father's Day. What month is Father's Day? June. So that was in June. My biopsy at the Mayo was like end of August. So I went through 5 hospitals in that time, and nobody could diagnose me. And actually, at the University of Minnesota, they had diagnosed me with what I had, but they wasn't firm. It was like, we think this could be it, but it's very rare. And my dad actually got the head doctor at Duke University, and he's like, "It's not that. He does not have that kind. That is not impossible." So we said, if it is, you need to go down to this guy at the Mayo Clinic who's actually studying your cancer. So of how rare I was, there was one like doctor, the head neuro-oncologist at the Mayo Clinic at the time, for some reason was interested in my cancer. So I went there, and then by the time I got my stem cell transplant, that was just that next January. And that was when I was done with treatment. And then you're considered in remission for 5 years, and then after 5 years, you're considered cancer-free. So I didn't have anything besides, so I was working in Jackson County as the program coordinator for the 4-H program there. And I went in just for my regular scheduled MRI to see what was going on, and they said there's shadowing on your brain. We think there could be another growth. And this was like 3 years in. I lost it. I quit my job. I went back home, all this stuff, and then we came back, and we went again to like follow up. And the doctor goes, "Oh no, that doctor who was reading your scans, he just didn't know your past. Those are old shadows. You're fine." And it was like Our Lady being like, "You gotta trust me, John." So, yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, I'm 5 years out, so that would have been 19, so then 24. I would have been, not 24, 14. would have been considered cancer-free. So 11 years now, or 12 years now, I've been cancer-free. So yeah, there you go.
All right, thank you.